So now Rudolph Giuliani just gets done saying that black people should teach their kids to be more respectful to the cops. That's why they're getting shot, because they're not respectful to the cops. That's what Rudolph Giuliani just said, and he blamed Black Lives Matter. He said Black Lives Matter. Saying Black Lives Matter is racist. That's what Rudolph Giuliani said. Let's watch how Chris Hayes responds to that. No, Chris Hayes. Here's Chris Hayes.
I think one of the things that I have come to believe in the process of reporting on this and writing on this, I think that there is a way that people interpret the critique of policing that puts policing in some special category, right? So it's like there's American life and then there's policing, and policing is especially toxic, especially racist. And one of the things I think that's wrong, actually, is a critique, right? I mean,
Okay, what the fuck? First of all, what is he saying? So Rudolph Giuliani says all this racist stuff. He comes back with, I don't even know what he's saying. And he's saying that the critique of policing is that it's toxic and racist, which I don't agree with. He doesn't agree with that. He's a newsman. Every statistic in the world shows you that our entire criminal justice system is racist. And here's Chris Hayes. He laughs it off. He laughs it off. He just did it. I'm not making that up. He literally just laughed out. Cops aren't racists. Come on. I don't believe that's true. That's not true. Policing culture isn't toxic in America. We killed over 558 people already this year, Chris. You know how many people they killed in Japan? None. You know how many people they killed in Germany in the last 2 years? 8. What are you talking about? That there isn't a toxic culture that's racist and policing in America. What are you talking about? And then he goes on, I don't even know what he's saying, because it just doesn't make any sense. By the way, this is his reaction to what Rudolph Giuliani just said. This is his reaction to it, which makes no sense. And he's talking to an ex-New York cop. And let's watch how the New York cop takes it. Let's listen.
I think one of the things that I have come to believe in the process of reporting on this and writing on this, I think that there is a way that people interpret the critique of policing that puts policing in some special category, right? So it's like there's American life and then there's policing, and policing is especially toxic, especially racist. And one of the things I think that's wrong, actually, is a critique, right? I mean, one of the things I think I've heard some of the Black Lives Matter folks say is policing isn't that different from other American institutions. It is the institution in which people are entrusted with committing violence in the state scene and having a gun.
Now, I don't know what he just said. I don't understand what he just said. I've played this 10 times. I played it for me. I played it for Steph. Neither of us really understand what his point just was. I don't know what it was. Maybe you know what it is. Leave it in the comments. But I don't know what his point was. But you see that cop, he's like, what are you talking about? What are you responding to what Rudolph Giuliani just said? About that the reason why black kids get shot is because their parents don't teach them to be respectful of cops, and that Black Lives Matter, saying that is racist. That's what. So this is what they're reacting to. That's Chris Hayes' reaction to that, is to say a bunch of nothing. His reaction to Rudolph Giuliani being blatantly racist is to say cops aren't racist. That's his reaction, not to go, what's wrong with that guy? But guess who does react that way? The cop. Listen to what the cop says.
Yeah, well, you know, it is important to say Rudy Giuliani is a special category. This is a person that made a study out of the most.
So, by the way, the cop just ignores Chris's diatribe and his bullshit question. He just ignored it. And what did he do? He wanted to address the real situation here, which was what the frick Rudy Giuliani just said. And watch all the way. I'm going to play it all the way through. Watch Chris Hayes be shocked at someone actually addressing the actual issue and saying it in blunt words. Watch how Chris Hayes reacts to this.
And having a gun.
Yeah, well, you know, it is important to say Rudy Giuliani is a special category. This is a person that made a study out of the most divisive, inflammatory rhetoric with the African-American community, and sadly is a two-term mayor. So we're not talking about the crazy people speaking in the recesses of social media or somebody saying, you kill one of us, we'll kill two of you in a crowd. We're talking about somebody who every time he speaks on race hits a new low. I'm not even an African-American. I find one of the things because I know his playbook that I find particularly offensive is when he pretends to be talking to the African American community, when he's really talking at the African American community, and has nothing to say to them. He poisoned race relations in New York City almost irreparably. So if we're trying to get a handle on this, he is one of the most extremist, divisive people. I think I remember.
And Chris Hayes is like, I can't believe you're saying all this stuff that's actually true. You know, everybody here at MSNBC likes Rudy Giuliani. Chris Hardball takes him on his show and calls him Mr. Mayor. They go out for lunch. Everybody backslaps him. Everybody's a friend of Rudy Giuliani's. I don't think we're allowed to say this stuff about actual people in public life. Are we allowed to say this stuff? That's what that looks like. To me, that's what he's like. Are you really saying that?
And you know, it's funny, Jimmy, because when I saw this cop and I saw before that he was going to talk, I was preparing myself to be disappointed.
Right.
Preparing myself that he was just going to give me the status quo.
What he does is highlight the disappointment in the news host. That's what he does. He's like, hey, Chris, I don't know if you just saw that racist bullshit that Rudy Giuliani just said, but I think it's important we take a moment to explain to people why what he just said was disgusting. Chris Hayes didn't think it was important to take that moment. The cop did. And then the cop does his job for him. And Chris Hayes just sits there and giggles all the time like, wow, I wish I could say that, but they'll take away my $6 million a year if I say something actually true about Rudolph Giuliani and the racist nature of our policing in America.
When he contemplated running for Senate against Mrs. Clinton, I believe the poll showed the African American community he had 0%. David Duke would have 1%. That's the kind of mayor he was. And people who saw him in action, and we can talk about how he destroyed the police profession as a labor mayor, but people of good faith should be calling this guy out. And what's scary is we have people running for high office here. If they said what they're saying out loud on Facebook as cops, they'd be terminated tomorrow morning. We got to come to grips, and the media is not a corrective. There's no. These are people that have.
Chris Hayes stunned by that. Wow. Yeah, I guess you're right. I guess we should be saying something. I love how the cop said, and people of good faith should stand up and say something. Just like people of good faith at MSNBC should stand up to Phil Griffin and say, stop running uninterrupted speeches of Donald Trump. The guy's ruining our country. Like that. People of good faith should stand up. And that's what he's saying. You can't allow a guy like Rudolph Giuliani to come out and spew that stuff and then not knock it down in the way you're supposed to, which is what he's doing. And he's doing Chris's job for him.
Successful saying these things over and over again.
Can I follow up, and then I want to get your response, Heather?
And then he goes on to say nothing. And this cop is sick of it. He's sick and tired of watching Rudolph Giuliani get invited onto news shows to say horrible stuff like that, and then nobody says what he is, which is a horrible person, the scum of the earth, race baiter, poisoned race relations, devastated the work environment for cops with labor relations. The guy's not horrible. Hey, come on our show. Let's hear. Let's get your. And then and then Chris Hayes can't even find it inside of himself to actually frame who Rudy Giuliani is and what's wrong with him and what's wrong with what he said. And that's why mainstream news is useless, because they give you no context. They don't frame it. It takes thank God that retired cop was there to say that stuff. And Chris says like, I'm just going to let this guy say all this stuff because Chris's reporting, he just let us know there is no toxic culture or racist culture. He's pointing out that the mayor was racist and toxic. But there is no toxic culture. I mean, the guy who implemented the broken windows policing in New York City was a horrible racist and poisoned politically. And he doesn't talk to black people; he talks at them. You mean that guy? But there's no. Chris Hayes his reporting would find that there is no problem with racism or a toxic situation in the culture of cops. He would disagree with that. So thank God for you, Eugene O'Donnell.
Yes. For
going on MSNBC and finally telling the truth about Mayor Rudolph Giuliani. And
do you think Eugene O'Donnell will be back on MSNBC?
I will see.